they're going to have to do a lot better job on the offensive end. And I have a few ways that I think they can improve on the offensive end, but I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, what you think in terms of them offensively.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to watch. Even those playoff games where things naturally kind of get a lot more grittier and more physical and not as smooth, it pretty much looked like the regular season to me from watching the Orlando Magic. It wasn't too much different. So I think just natural kind of basketball basics. Not necessarily sure what the coaching staff is kind of writing up offensively. I think this is kind of part of trying to understand what the guys can do kind of in that shed of light I was speaking of, seeing if they can take advantages of their matchups, how good are they in isolation, what are their best spots. I think if they can pretty much implement a better offensive philosophy and structure, then I definitely think that we'll see better things offensively from this Orlando Magic. Better ball movement, cutting. Like they have so many athletes on that team. Jalen Suggs, as you mentioned, Paolo and Franz, of course, are big wings, and Gary Harris has always been a pretty athletic shooter. Even guys that Cole Anthony, he's small, but he can definitely play above the rim. Even Anthony Black, the rookie they drafted last season, he's a big, pretty much point guard that is the position he played in college. So I think just really taking advantage of things like off ball cutting and definitely taking advantage of fast break opportunities if you're such an athletic team like they are. Because typically, if you get a stop, you're getting an advantage. Somebody on the offensive end might be crashing the rebound and be out of position and get back on defense. Just simple things like those are definitely going to or could improve their offensive numbers because if you're not good in the half court, typically you're going to want to get out on the break. And we did see them pretty much struggle, especially in the playoffs and half court situations. But you can't look for that stuff to change overnight. You have to take advantage where your strengths are. And I think those will be the two spots where they can get better offensively. Just pretty much putting pressure on the rim. So when you do get catch and shoot opportunities, other players get to fill the ball. They're getting more space and more time to make those decisions, which might improve their catch and shoot percentage and being able to attack and read defenses. Get into more drive and kick type offense. Just get more pressure on the rim. Use your frame, your size, and athleticism. I think that'll definitely improve their offense.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I mean, when you look at this Orlando Magic team, I think two specific ways that I think that they can improve is number one, just take advantage of your defense and get out in transition and score baskets there. They didn't do that last year. So, like I said before, when you are not good offensively in the half court and you are that good defensively, you got to take advantage of that. You got to get out in transition and you got to score baskets there. So they have to do that more. Also, I think that they have to incorporate more ball and man movement. Also, getting KCP is going to be very big because I think that they can use Paolo and Franz at the elbows because they already operate from that area very well. So if you can use Paolo or Franz at the elbows, kind of similarly to how the Denver Nuggets use Jokic, that could be very helpful for the Orlando Magic. And when I say use him kind of like the Denver Nuggets use Jokic, I'm talking about using them as kind of like a hub where they can play from the elbow. You can run some off ball action, cut to the basket, and use them as passers. Or you can use that off ball action to give them space to operate at the elbow. So I think they can use that similarly to what the Denver Nuggets do. And KCP, I think, would be really helpful if they were to go that route because he's already played in a system that takes advantage of that, like with Denver and Jokic. And KCP is a great off ball shooter and a movement shooter at that. He's able to come off screens and shoot, and he's one of the better catch and shoot players in the league as well. If they incorporate more off-ball movement, more ball movement in general, and man movement, I think that that could help them out a lot and give them easier opportunities on the offensive end versus last season. Because last season it was very tough to watch on the offensive end.
Yeah, definitely. And I think KCP actually won't have a big issue trying to switch kind of that offensive style because just what the Nuggets ran was just so beautiful. They fit so perfectly. I can't really recall seeing a full starting five that I don't know, that's a tough one. You think about the Hampton five, like that was a really great fit. But
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at that Denver Nuggets five, just offensively, I think they like all did something different. KCP was the two-way shooter. Michael Porter was the tall, lengthy knockdown shooter. Aaron Gordon was the Swiss Army knife verticals threat. Could guard the best player on the other team. Jokic was taking advantages of players in the post. He was the hub, and Murray just played perfectly off of Jokic. But if you look at KCP's career, he also played with a LeBron Lakers squad where LeBron was pretty much always having the ball in his hands. It wasn't as much movement going on. KCP was kind of there, just ready, always ready to catch and shoot, which is something he'll see more similarly to this Orlando Magic's team, just because obviously they're with the numbers you gave, that just justifies they're not as advanced offensively. But I don't think he'll have an issue really kind of transitioning back to a role like that. And just to kind of back up what you're saying, like the biggest thing about Paolo, especially coming out of college, was he was more of like an offensive initiator. So anytime you could keep him around the basket, like those elbows, like the low post, like the paint, anytime he was able to pretty much draw an extra defender, which is honestly all NBA offense is about, can you draw the extra attention and just create easier opportunities for your teammates? I think a team like the Boston Celtics are a prime example of that. Now, granted, they have way better off-ball spacing and just all quality players across the board, but they do that to a T where they can get pressure, kick it out to the other guy. And I think even though you don't have as many players that can do that on this Magic squad, especially offensively, you do have Paolo who can do that. And I think he could do it at a very consistent level. And I think you really have to play into that strength. But like I said, I think it's just kind of part of seeing how good can they be at these other things. And I think eventually when we see the best version of this Magic squad, we're going to see stuff more similar to how we're kind of mentioning of just getting him in his spots, taking advantages of mismatches closer to the basket than kind of further out, drawing in that extra guy, making it easier for your teammates. So it would honestly be amazing to see because I think that would just take this team to the next level immediately. But I honestly, obviously, over time, that'll be kind of developed and understood for these young players. But yeah, KCP definitely helps. So they just have a lot of pieces where you see the potential, but you really do want to see them take that next step, which would be on the offensive end. Because like if you're that good defensively and pretty much last in almost every kind of statistical category offensively, and you're hanging around in game 7 of the Eastern playoffs against a team like the Cavaliers, who, like I said, aren't championship contenders in my personal eyes, but they have a star in Donovan Mitchell, a star in Darius Garland, rim protector and Jared Allen. They're a great defensive team too. If you were able to kind of hang with those guys to a game 7 and really give yourself a chance, if you could just make your offense a little bit better with that stout of a defense, you could really make some noise, especially in the Eastern Conference. I think they could really take a big jump. They just have to figure out that offensive piece. And I just think that'll come with time.
Yeah, you said it again, man. If they can get just a little bit of offense, I'm not asking for a whole bunch because, like you said, it takes time and they have to develop that chemistry and working together as a team, and they have to build out what they want to be as an offense moving forward. But if they can just make that little bit of adjustment on the offensive end and make just a little bit more improvement on the offensive end, I think that this team can be very scary, especially with their ability on the defensive end. I mean, they're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, point blank, period. So if they could just get a little better on offense, I think that this team will be in a much better position. And they were already in a really good position. Like you said, game 7 against a legitimate playoff team in the Eastern Conference. It's just that little bit of improvement that they can get better at, and it'll take them very far because they're just that talented.